It's the Investor Roundtable from Equity.Guru. Rob Simpson living upstairs. That's Vishal Vatura over yonder, down below, paying big rent, by the way. Chris Perry. And in the other basement apartment is none other than Galen Engen. We are talking today. We're doing a lot of rocks lately. Deposits, minerals, gold and them there hills type stuff. XTT.V, the venture exchange. It's X-Terra Resources. They're Quebecois. And we start with Mr. Engen.
All right. X-Terra Resources is, again, another story of mining in a friendly jurisdiction. Where, as I said before in another episode, that if you're mining in West Africa, you're dodging bullets, and investors have to be aware of that. At least in this location, you're going to have an ease of getting permitting, a good chance of getting community support, all that kind of lovely stuff. So you can bring a mine into development a lot easier, and nobody has to worry about it being appropriated down the road.
A lot of producing mines there.
Yeah, exactly. This particular region has a history, basically with gold and diamonds. Stornoway, as I said before, has a great, in another life, has said that, or has another mine there, a diamond mine that's done quite well for itself. And there's also producers in and around the area that have done quite well. James Bay does have a history. X-Terra has a grab bag of properties in and around the James Bay region, in and north of Chibougamau, Quebec, that being their flagship Troilus East Property. Heading X-Terra is a fellow by the name of Michael Ferreira, who is, I guess you could say, the young face of mining. And up until this point, typically mining companies have had somebody who is gray-haired and heading into the grave, taking them through their projects. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just time we have a next generation of mining coming on. And he really is sort of showing that new face. And it's very interesting to see this. And there's a kind of a youthful approach to X-Terra as well, on behalf of Michael in making his projects come to fruition. At this point, the company, from what I can see, is sort of very junior. They're not really sort of building on something that's well established yet. They're kind of picking up rocks and looking, okay, there's gold there. So they're really in the formative stages of developing these properties. Troilus East is their flagship, not necessarily something they've announced themselves, but it seems to be the one they've done the most work on. But the company has been relatively quiet since July, in regards to progress on the property. I understand that they're trying to get funding to get further ahead. They recently closed a private placement, not as much as they had hoped for. But then again, it's a tough market, and you really sort of have to get down to the ground and make things happen before you get private placements full to overflowing. So I like them. I think it's an interesting prospect, but again, very junior.
Yeah,
doing greenfield work.
100%.
I want to stay downstairs to Chris. He knows a little bit more about their fundraising efforts, and also
Yeah, I mean, look, I think at this level, a lot of companies, when they raise funds, it's not a case of like hitting their target as much as getting what they can get. There are a lot of little explorers that will come out with news releases to say they've done a private placement for $27,632. And, you're like, oh, so the office rent was due, right? I think in this case, you're looking at a $6 million market cap company, right? So clearly early stage. It's not exactly a great environment right now to go out and get early stage finance. Gold is a little wishy-washy, resources are a little down. So it's not a slam dunk as it might be. When you're getting money at all at this price, it's usually that you're doing some sort of a discount deal, or you've got somebody who's just like a big daddy pulling favors for you. In this case, they've got a little support. The projects are good. If you look through their investor deck, what you really find, though, is a lot of, we have this, and that matches up with someone else who has this and has made a success of it, right? It's not closeology. It's kind of in the same ballparkology. So, comparisons from here to something in another part of the world, that's what you have to do at a certain level, because until you've actually pulled the cores out of the ground and can really get a lot of in dirt information. You've just got to basically say, look, our guys, they know what they're doing. They've walked around the property. They've kicked some rocks. They've thrown some pickaxes. Maybe we've taken a bit and we've taken it into the lab to see what happens. It looks good. It looks like if you did a little work on this, that you'd find something that was a nice, a good Canadian kid in terms of resources. But look, there's a lot of this that is very conceptual still, right? Yep. It's a lot of good signs, good people, little bit of risk, probably more than a little bit of risk, but also, again, it's a $5.9 million market cap. So, if you sold a good sized property in West Vancouver, you'd be able to buy that entire damn company and still have some left over for a nice little bed sit in Burnaby. What I like about these kinds of companies is a rising tide sector-wise lifts a whole lot of these little boats. So if you're buying in at 6.5 cents and getting a good dose of the company for your money, all they need is one good draw result. And this thing goes to 10 cents, to 15 cents, to 18 cents. It's a real easy jump. Now, on the other side of that, it could easily just drop down to 4 cents and 3.5 cents if someone with a big load of it decides that they've got to buy their girlfriend a ring to make up for the fact that they're still married. So I would really, look at this as you're playing dice, right? You like to have an educated guess that the people you're playing dice with know what they're doing. They've got a bit of a track record. They're in the right place. There's going to be not so many headwinds for them to get where they want to be. Quebec mining is another one of those jurisdictions where, you throw a party till 2 a.m. and you come away with a hangover and 6 mining permits. So I think probably there's a decent amount of wait and see attached to this, but also at this market cap, throwing a bit of cash towards it and just waiting it out for 3 to 6 months to see what their next step is might be a really good move.
Well, you just reminded me of why I want to go into mining in Quebec, or why I want to go into anything else for that matter.
Look, man, you've got guys in this board with the names like Sébastien Bellefleur and Sylvain Champagne. If that's not grounds for a good Quebecois party, then I don't know what is. They should invite us up-country DJs.
Vishal Vatura is the star of Equity.Guru's chart attack for a reason. Right, Vishal?
Right, Rob. A lot of the stuff I'm going to say is echoing what Chris just said. Stock-wise, it's very cheap. Small market cap, less than 6 million, trading at 6 cents. And notice this, if I zoom out here on the chart, you're pretty much basically near the bottom, right? So a lot of people would call this stock maybe like, a bottom picker. A lot of people like to look for these stocks that are, finding support at close to or at previous lows, and X-Terra is pretty much there. If it does break below 6 cents, then you are looking at the 3 cents or 4 cent level here. But again, I do gotta emphasize that it is a bit of a speculation. I would also do the same thing, wait out here a little bit, a few months, again, see what happens when they raise some cash, get the drills going. But it is an attractive entry at this support here, and if they do find something good news comes out, this thing can pop. I do want to mention though that the volume is still a bit light. Like today we traded 5,000 shares. On average, it says 107,000 shares are traded daily. But if we just look back at the historical data, well, what do you know? On September 17th, actually on that Friday, we did have 334,000 shares, so that was higher than the average. And I do see some big 6-figure numbers here in the month. So, okay, volume is likely not an issue. But I think it is, maybe investors and traders are looking at this as a bottom pick here. If they are bullish gold, if gold does pop, juniors generally follow gold, and they act just like gold, but on steroids, right? A lot of the gains will happen in the juniors on gold pops, and it doesn't necessarily mean we need that catalyst. If gold just moves, then these juniors will follow as well. But definitely good support area here. But then again, jurisdiction alike, management. Sometimes you want an experienced management, especially in the mining sector. This is a new guy, so we'll see how that goes. And then cash, that's the one thing that I would sort of wait for, just to see them raise a bit more cash to get the drills going for a catalyst.
Let's start with Galen. Instead of $5,000, which we often use as my base of cash that I'm going to spend on something, this is probably more like $1,000, like, because you can get a boatload of shares for a little bit of money. So what are you thinking about, Galen?
I might put 500 in and wait on the other 500. I know this sounds a bit curmudgeonly, but and I'm playing the guys that I'm mocking, I suppose. I don't know if this thing is really going to move unless they actually get something out of their cores. Now, if I wait too long, I'll miss the boat. So, I mean, there's always that involved. But for me, I'd like to see a little more proof. I've got some faith, but as Vishal said, despite the youthful appearance, and that's the new face of mining, there tends to be a little more solidity with experience, right? So it would be nice to see this play out just a little bit more to make sure that management really has a hold on what they're doing and where they're going. So 500 now, 500 in 2 months, 3 months, to see if they put drills in the ground again.
Chris Perry, they've drilled 5 of their 12 diamond mines as of June. That's really one of the only 2 pieces of news they've had in the last 4 months.
Well, they've actually finished 10 of the 12.
Well, now they're up to 10. Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
2 were in extreme environment or terrain challenges, so they couldn't get in there.
All right.
So, look, I would take a little nibble and just watch for dips at this point. Like, look, it could be that they've got things going and that in any day now they'll drop some news to say drills are in the ground and we're away we go. Or, hey, we've just lined up some interest with, a big investor. Likely, though, that any upward moves are going to take a little time. You're going to be able to see that little curve moving. Unless someone comes in here and decides to take a $500,000 position, you're going to see activity start to warm up before it really leaves the station. Yep. One thing that I'm really interested in noting is there's no selling from the insiders, right? You look at the insider docs, and insiders of this company are not dumping. If it is slumping chart-wise, it's just because the story's taking some time to roll out, and that's natural with this kind of level of company. They're all failures until they're not. So if I think what the market's probably looking for is activity, and the news timeline doesn't really reflect that yet. Now, quite often when guys know they're on something, they won't put out news for a while. They'll let the price slump down, because why should they reward people looking to sell? So they'll let people sell. Price jumps down. They paper the room with their own stock. And then when things start really coming into play, everyone makes a profit. I don't know that that's happening here. I haven't talked to these guys for a good 6 months, but I will say that I think it's an interesting enough play that even if they struggled to raise enough money to go at it hard, there's something here. Worst comes to worst, if they flip the property, I don't think you're going to go much less than $5 million valuation on what you'd get. So for me, keep your 1,000, but maybe throw a couple of $100 at it, so it's on your portfolio. You can see it move every day. And if it does take a little tumble in a week or 2 weeks or 2 months, maybe you take that as an opportunity to buy more. I don't think that you're going to run out of opportunity in the short term. And I don't see that these guys are just like dropping tools and playing golf. That ain't it. We are getting close to winter, and that does start to limit a lot of the exploration work that happens at some properties, especially out in Quebec. So there might be a long, slow period where you just got to have the faith that eventually things are going to warm up. But I wouldn't throw the money tree at it just now. I think there's other opportunities.
Michelle?
Yep, I would say the same. I would wait a bit. Funny enough, on a technical approach, if I was just like a trader looking at this technically, I would like to buy here, right? Just because it's a nice support level. It is basing. The last time we were basing at this level, we had this pop, which was a 200% gain up to 24 cents, right? Obviously, that was a catalyst. There was some news involved, which took us up there. But technically, I like that as support. Fundamentally, obviously, we have to look at management and what they can do with the drills. But I would also say that there is that gold price movement as well, right? If you get gold moving, this thing could also move without some sort of catalyst from management. But yeah, now that I think about it, it is getting colder up there, and if they are going to drill and release some results, it would have to be sooner rather than later. And I think we'd have to ask Greg, but I bet the drill season probably ends November in Quebec, maybe earlier than that. But yeah, technically I do like it. I would maybe throw in a few hundred just because it is basing. And then you have that positive factor in terms of gold, and hopefully management will get things done as well.
All of this is for educational purposes only. You folks out there are responsible for your own homework and research and investment decisions. So remember that, as we're just giving you some basics here to work with. And we can't guarantee anything, that's for darn sure. It's very
I was just looking at their news, at their completing of their drill program. And that financing that they did intend to pull 2.1 million out of it at 7.5 cents a unit, with a warrant entitling a full share at 1.1 cents a share. That's interesting. That's basically a fire sale, trying to get people to get into the financing, and they pulled out 800K at the end of it. So that's probably something for us to take into consideration. Maybe they've got a little less money than they would like. Certainly they got enough money to get them through the cold season, but I would like them to have had an extra digit on that financing, especially when you're basically giving away your warrants.
nice tag. Nice catch, Chris Perry.
For 1.1 cents for a full warrant. Like,
Wow.
Right.
I feel like that might have been a typo.
Yeah.
I see 11. Isn't it 11 cents?
Doesn't it cost more to print them?
I'm looking at on Stockwatch, X-Terra Resources completes drill program at Troilus East.
I think it's a typo. Here on their website is each warrant is at a price of 11 cents.
That would make a lot more
There we
sense.
go.
It was 1.1 cents. Take my money.
Okay, so another
Cash that in now.
good catch.
Yes,
Well, does that change?
it's important information, I think.
That's why he's living in the penthouse.
Yeah, they corrected it in the next one. All right.
For Vishal, for Galen, for Chris, Rob. See you on the next Equity Guru Investor Roundtable. Cheers.